You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
U.S. Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why U.S. Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from U.S. Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/built-for-us to get started.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us, 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim in a remote location on secret government work. Not government work. No, it's probably not government
How
work.
dare you?
Yeah, I apologize, Tim. I'm going to have to ban myself from the show tonight. We got Emilio in Tennessee, my man with his Milwaukee. What is this, a marker? Is that a rebar marker? What is that?
Yeah, no, it's a nice Sharpie. You know, I figured Tim was on Milwaukee's duty, but it's fine.
All right. And then we got Jacob in Wisconsin, the beard.
Here's the guy.
Gents,
Hi.
how we doing? 53-man roster cut down day. Woo, it was a doozy. Let's go around the horn one time. Initial takeaways, and I've got to start with probably the hottest, the hottest take I imagine would come from Jacob. So, Jacob, sir, you have the floor. Initial thoughts on the 53 before we dive into all the details.
Oh, man. This is like my least favorite day, definitely, of the Packer calendar. I don't think it's any secret that I'm going to be a little – I say there's a few head scratchers for me, for sure. I think it's very odd to see Kalen King not make the cut, to see Pratt not make the cut, seeing Mosby make the team, seeing DeBose not. It's just, a lot of things. Anthony Johnson Jr. in that one might be my most kind of head scratcher. Anders Carlson. I mean, hey, I'm not going to definitely celebrate that whatsoever, but I can't believe it, to be honest. I this whole time half of the kicker talk was just playing devil's advocate and just trying to maybe spark a little debate here and there, but I didn't in my wildest dreams honestly think that we'd do what we did. And then obviously AJ Dillon, I see a lot of people weirdly being excited about that, which that's never my take. As you guys know, I love each and one of these players as a person, and definitely as if you're a Packer fan, I don't think there's any point in like gloating or celebrating somebody losing either their career or it sucks. I don't like it, and I was surprised by that, surprised by Tyler Davis as well. There's a lot of surprises, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a hard one to swallow. I'm gonna try to be positive though.
So Tim, initial thoughts, initial takeaway. It can be 30 seconds, a minute, something like that. How you feeling? Oh, first of all, let me hit this super chat. I apologize, Tim. Brent in Indiana says, welcome back to YouTube. Go, Pack, go. Thank you, Brent. Appreciate the super chat, buddy. You are awesome, man. Go ahead, Tim. What do you I wish we had it automatically set up when anybody done a super chat. It would just pop that video up. You know what I mean? It's like a notification. But go ahead, Tim. What's your initial thoughts on it, man?
Kind of echoing Jacob's sentiment. There was some surprises there for sure. Anders Carlson being one. It's no secret that I've been a huge Anders Carlson advocate. However, there is a chance that tomorrow morning around 11 o'clock or something like that, he may very well be on the practice squad. Who knows? That was the biggest shocker to me, was moving on from him today. That was kind of caught me off guard. The A.J. Dillon thing, I have Mrs. Green to thank, so I got a shout out to my wife, who kind of called this a few weeks ago when he re-aggravated that stinger that he basically had at the end of last year. He was kind of dealing with a nagging issue, and she had always mentioned to me that there was a possibility that that could be a long-term thing depending on the severity. And as we find out today, he's going to miss the 2024 season. So that was not as big of a surprise, but I think there were some shockers there. Anthony Johnson Jr., another one of my favorites. That was a little surprising. However, I do get it considering the depth we have in that secondary now, particularly the safety room. So not a complete shock there. Iola's own Christian Welch not making the team. Little bit surprised, but I can't say that we really thought that was realistic. Hopefully he's a practice squad guy as well. But yeah, I guess all in all, man, just a lot of shockers today for sure.
Yeah.
I heard you guys real quick. Sorry to cut you off. Christian Welch is apparently such a seasoned veteran that he apparently has like free agent rights. So he doesn't have to just if a team wants to sign him, he has to agree to go to that team. Otherwise, he can prefer to stay around and be a Packers special teams guy or practice squad guy. And he is from Green Bay, so I think I could see him sticking around.
Yeah, that's pretty much anyone who has been cut. They have the right to sign anywhere else. Now, when it comes to Christian Welch, yeah, I think he'll end up as one of those 6 spots on the practice squad because you've basically got 10 that are 2 years or less experience, and then there's 6 that's pretty much open to anyone, if I understood correctly. So, yeah, he now if another team comes to calling, he's obviously going to sign for their active roster. No team can sign him to the practice squad. You know what I mean? Green Bay kind of has dibs on it. They have to sign him to the active roster, the way I understand. So, yeah, that's how that works. CJN said, should we cancel the Patreon if we are still on here? Prioritize the Patreon group. CJN, I noticed you got the badge there. It's showing that you're a member here. There's nothing wrong with being a member here. I'm going to try to consolidate the two for the giveaways. I can't guarantee that we can do that. And the reason I want to prioritize Patreon is because Patreon was there when YouTube pulled the rug right out from under us. So we always want to prioritize it. So if you're saying you got to choose between one or the other, choose Patreon because that's where the giveaways definitely will be. And we've got, like I said, the community in there, all the chats, all that stuff. I can't create a chat on YouTube if you know, from that angle. So, yeah, if you have to choose between the two, do that one, do Patreon. So, appreciate you asking, Bob. But, yeah, Jacob, I understand what you're saying. I think there's a decent chance Christian Welch returns on the practice squad. It's kind of, I don't know, man. I'd be shocked if another team wasn't interested in him. You know what I mean? Thank you, Fred McFarley. Appreciate you, buddy. I'd be really shocked because he had, Wildy said it best. It's like that dude could not have done anything more to make the roster. He absolutely tore the preseason up. He was great on special teams. He's healthy, willing, able, all those things. It's just like he couldn't have done anything else. But, Emilio, what's your initial thoughts here, bud, before we dive into all the details?
Yeah, it was tough seeing AJJ and my man AJ Dillon, go down. Probably a timing belt issue. We'll have to get that fixed, and over the duration of the season. But after thinking about it, I know I was a little surprised about Welch, but then I thought, we're going to spend a little bit more time on the edge position just because it's that important. How many times are we going to be in a 3 linebacker set versus nickel, and how often can we rotate those D linemen through? I think is more, if we have 3 sets of 2 that we could rush through, first heavy on the first 2 sets and then rotate that third pair in to rush, I would be fine with that if maybe that's the way we're thinking. And then, yeah, Anders, tough for my man Anders. Congrats to Greg Joseph. Again, we still have no idea. They could still, change it up, by tomorrow sort of thing. But, happy for the guys that made it. And my man, Travis Glover, I've been telling you for a while now, we got to keep an eye on him.
You called that one. I mean, I won't say you're the only person. I think you're the only person here that was as vocal as you are. I mean, you were.
I liked what he was doing, man. And he was he came to the Senior Bowl too late last second. He was an addition and just showed out. I liked his work ethic, man. I liked the way he carried himself. So I'm happy he made the cut.
Yeah. John in the chat said, will Lloyd be ready week 1? I think that was the question. Here's the thing about Lloyd. I don't know if you guys follow Rob Domofsky, but that got pretty comical earlier today. But I won't go into all the details, but there was a mix-up where it made it sound as if Lloyd was going to go on IR, and then all of a sudden he didn't go on the initial IR. And without throwing anybody under the bus, it was just interesting. It was an interesting conversation on Twitter. Go look it up yourself. But as it sits right now, Marshawn Lloyd is not on injured reserve. So it looks like they're planning to have him on the 53, which is a good sign. That's a good thing, right? And obviously the A.J. Dillon news we'll get to here as well. Let's just jump right into the roster moves off the top. Green Bay Packers have released the following players. This was the Packers announcing the roster moves. So here are all the players they released. Deslin Alexander, Brevin Allen, Keyshawn Banks, Anders Carlson, Sean Clifford, wide receiver Grant DeVos, defensive line James Esther, cornerback Jamon Green, kicker Alex Hell, wide receiver Julian Hicks, guard/tackle Donovan Jennings, safety Anthony Johnson Jr., tackle Caleb Jones. Can I get one more? No? Okay. Cornerback Kalen King. That one definitely. Running back Nate McCrary, running back Ellis Merriweather, defensive lineman Zach Morton, guard/tackle Royce Newman, tight end Henry Pearson, actually a fullback, but they've got him listed as a tight end, quarterback Michael Pratt, cornerback Robert Rochelle, linebacker Chris Russell, safety Benny Sapp III. I'm trying to give tips here. Defensive line Keontae Shad, guard/center Lasitas Smith, wide receiver Dimitri Stanley, tight end Messiah Swinson, tackle Luke Tenuta, wide receiver Samori Toure, defensive lineman Spencer. How do you say it, Jacob?
Wagey.
See how they got the pronunciation out there for us? Man, I like that. Wide receiver Jalen Wayne, linebacker Christian Welch, tight end Joel Wilson, and linebacker Christian Young. So those are all the players that were released. I said the team has traded for Tennessee Titans quarterback Malik Willis, which I mentioned, in exchange for a 2025 seventh-round draft pick. They placed tight end Tyler Davis and running back A.J. Dillon on injured reserve, placed defensive lineman Jonathan Ford on injured reserve / designated for return, and waived injured cornerback L.J. Davis and linebacker Raylan Goforth. The transactions were announced Tuesday by general manager Brian Gutekunst. So there are all of your cuts. Gentlemen, you have the floor now that you got the list right in front of you. Let's just go around the horn. We'll start with you, Jacob. Biggest surprise here, man. Good luck.
I honestly was pretty surprised with the Caleb Jones cut. I didn't see much indicating that he was going to be on that list there. I think Caleb Jones, Kalen King, Anthony Johnson Jr., 3 in a row right there. That's my biggest ones. I don't know. It's really sad. And I don't know, man. I don't know how I would switch up the 53 is the only thing. It's tough. I'm a little bit shocked. Maybe you guys can let me know what you think that Ballantyne made it over a few of these younger cornerbacks. Even guys like Rochelle, Kalen King, they must have seen what they, liked with this.
Ballantyne's got to be backup slot then, right?
That's what I was thinking, right?
Thank you.
Ballantyne was, like I said, man, I think that he last year was the second best corner on this team. Now, if you could guarantee me Stokes is going to come out and ball out and take that next step we've been waiting on for 3 years, awesome. But Corey Ballantyne, when you look at the passer rate and when targeted and all the important metrics, I mean, the dude balled out, in my opinion, with the opportunities he had. You don't believe me? Go watch him shut down Justin Jefferson against Minnesota on New Year's Eve. It's just like, okay, I wasn't shocked with that one, Jacob, but I understand how many people would be. Now, if you told me we were keeping him over Kalen King, that I would be like, whoa, I don't know about that. But the fact that Kalen King's gone and Ballantyne is here, it's not so much the issue there for me. Tim, go ahead.
Real quick, Tim. I think I haven't mentioned this yet, but I think by far the biggest shock to me was the Zane Anderson pick. We mentioned Zane Anderson almost like a joke, saying, he's getting a lot of special teams reps, and for whatever reason, he hangs around. He's been around since the Dallin Levitt days. I remember seeing his name popping in and out. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it just shows how much value he brings to the table. Clearly, they're they're in love with him when it comes to the special teams play. I don't anticipate seeing him in defensive sets unless we're really, really in trouble or thin. But they see value there, and you're right. He's been around for a while. Maybe it's kind of trying to counterbalance the whole youth movement with, hey, we've got a handful of guys that know the system, know what we're trying to do. They're familiar with Green Bay. We got to keep some of these guys around and continue to grow and build around these core guys. And Zane Anderson's probably a core special teamer. I think it's evident right now based on that. I will say I was a little surprised with the Keyshawn Banks release, but, with the injury bug and him kind of getting, to camp late, I guess it shouldn't be a total shocker. Robert Rochelle is a guy that I thought could have possibly made the team as well. Injuries, same kind of scenario. And of course, I'm not going to go another minute without mentioning Grant DuBose, who had himself.
US Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why US Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from US Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/built-for-us to get started.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com. You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com. You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
A damn good preseason, we'll just put it that way, and wish him the best. Hopefully he's a practice squad guy and doesn't get stolen away from us, because I still believe that guy's got a super high ceiling. And I don't think the NFL has seen the last of Grant DuBose at all anytime soon. So keep an eye on him to make some noise for sure.
Yep. Emilio, with this list in front of you now, man, what kind of catches you off guard the most here?
I think the fellas kind of hit on it, right? We took a couple chances on draft picks. We got rid of some seventh. Was it year before? It's tough. We get used to seeing these guys. Sean Clifford was a backup last year, didn't make it this year. Merriweather was running well. Joel Wilson was shining, but, you really only have space for so many. So hopefully they made enough of a impact to make that practice squad. And like we said, everybody else around the league just has lists like this, coming out right now. So there are other players available. Even if we think that we're going to sign some of these fellas back, there might be one that Goody's had his eye on for 2 years that got cut. That's, finally his chance. So tomorrow's going to be really cool to see, but it's tough seeing all these names, gone after all that work in the offseason.
Yeah, definitely, man. Jacob, I see you got a bunch of chats marked, man. You want to rattle through them real quick?
I do. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but am I understanding correctly that it sounds like Clifford will be back with the team?
Heard it from a fan right here.
Between him and Pratt, that it sounds like Clifford is basically going to be ushered into kind of that immediate backup role while Malik Willis gets into the playbook. Do you think that's fair to say?
I haven't heard that specifically, but that would make a lot of sense, because Malik, the reality is Malik doesn't know the playbook, right? He's not backup ready. Sean Clifford is. And here's the thing. Michael Pratt probably ain't too much further ahead of Malik Willis as far as learning.
Yep.
So yeah, that does make a lot of sense, Jay, for sure.
Yeah, we can hit some chats if you'd like to here.
Cool.
Start with Coach Lennon.
Sean Clifford while you do that.
Yeah, can we get Johnson Jr. back and Kalen back, or will they get picked up, do you think? Coach Lynn is wondering. What do you guys think on that?
Ant Johnson, possibly. Kalen King being a rookie.
That's tough.
He may very well get picked right back up by us tomorrow, too. I'm not ruling that out with Kalen King, but, the cornerback room is deep. So is the safety room. So I would say out of those two names, probably Anthony Johnson Jr. might find some work somewhere else. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah. What do you think, Emilio?
Tough. I think that we could get them both back. I honestly don't know if we're going to sign them both back. Yeah, it would be the only thing. I love how Kalen King was playing. I love that we drafted him. I think Dan Johnson might have the better chance to come back, maybe. But like I said, every other team there's 32 other teams with lists like this. Like there could be a corner or a safety that they had their eye on that we finally have a chance to get. So it's going to be tough to say until tomorrow when we actually get that practice squad settled.
Yeah. Jacob, the only thing I'm seeing here on Sean Clifford in that regard is Tapping the Keg Sports. Got like 1,300 followers, something like that. He's way too close to the camera, I will say that. He said, Anders Carlson is gone. A.J. Dillon goes to season IR. Sean Clifford, not Michael Pratt, is wanted back on the practice squad. So I haven't heard that Michael Pratt was not wanted on the practice squad, but that's the only report I'm seeing as of right now, just combing through the latest.
See, I think that same post has been recycled quite a bit because I that specific wording, I remember seeing that. That's the only actual indication of that, what I can see. But like you said, it does kind of make sense just because of the fact that, like you talked about, and that it did make my head scratch a bit. And we're going to get into a section here of comments that you guys know me. I never like to stir the pot, right? I like to keep things on the straight and narrow. However, it has popped into my mind more than once over the last couple months. Is Rich Bisaccia completely overrated? And if that's the case, why or not? And now that's a segue into a few Packer fans that seem to be kind of thinking the same way. Chris Sen says Rich Bisaccia has too much control over personnel, I think. John Schmidt follows it up saying Ballantyne over King and Anderson over AJJ has to be on the special team calls. Another John says Rich Bisaccia should be on the hot seat. Omer coming in here saying, yeah, Chris, especially for an overpaid underachiever, Mr. Bisaccia.
Whoa. You better leave Coach B alone.
And then finally, Dwayne, real quick, and then we'll let the dogs go. He says, what if Anders was simply just terrible at the new kickoff style? And that's why one of the reasons that led into that. Now, I'll let Tim go. I have not seen a lot of results from Mr. Bisaccia. I've heard a lot of talk. I've seen some funny clips. We still have one of the worst.
You're an amazing person. You know that, don't you?
We still have one of the worst special team units in the NFL, and we've never really turned it around other than like a.
Okay, we've improved on special teams every year since Coach B's been here. First of all, that's a fact.
I don't know if that's true.
Here's the thing, though, Tim.
We're not where we want to be, and I would agree with the statement that we're still towards the bottom of the list in that category. But we are not the complete dumpster fire on special teams that we used to be. I know that's a fact, unless maybe I'm just not seeing the game the same. But I definitely wouldn't go as far as to call him overrated at all.
But here's one thing. There's no more botched snaps. There's no more getting punts blocked, right? I think that's what Tim's referring to here. And I completely agree, Tim. Someone had mentioned in a group chat earlier, I'm going to find it real quick. I think it was maybe Aaron Negler that tweeted out that said the special teams got worse by ranking this year. I want to say they went from 23rd to like 28th or something. I'm trying to find that chat. I got so many damn chats, boys. My head's spinning. But I know he had tweeted something along those lines out. I don't know what rankings he went with, and there are some people on Twitter that specialize in those rankings or just in the football analytic community. But, Tim, I've got to agree with you 100% when it comes to, again, we went from we can't even get a snap and hold down to, hey, that's not a problem anymore. Now, is that worth paying someone like Bisaccia what they're paying him and making him assistant coach? I don't know. You know what I mean?
That's up for debate. I agree, but I mean, we gotta pump the brakes with the
yeah. It's one thing I will say, like that, and this isn't a shot at anybody in the chat. This is just Packer fans in general today. The people that are running victory laps is just obnoxious. It's like, man, I know you think people are like, yeah, he got it right. People aren't looking at you like that, bub. They're going, that guy's kind of an ass. So I'll just leave it at that. But I don't understand the, okay, we need to fire him now that he's gone. We need to fire that guy. We need to fire this guy. There were people, I won't name names, that were screaming for Matt LaFleur to be fired last year. Let's just.
And there were also people screaming for Sean Clifford to replace Jordan Love 5 weeks ago.
Remember that too.
Guys, I think we figured it out. So did Dennis. Tim is a CIA plant.
Tim, you want to rebuttal that?
I'm not even going to acknowledge that with a
coverage of pressure.
That is the absolute worst thing you could ever call
I was going to say that. If you want to piss Tim off, that's about all you can do is call him a fed.
That's the one. Let's see here. So John Schmidt, did you already hit that one, Jacob?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I didn't actually. I had that highlighted though, but I was going to bring that up. Yep.
Yeah. John Schmidt says, the original report on Clifford to the practice squad was Bill Huber. So if all he said was, okay, the report is they're interested in Clifford going to the practice squad. I haven't heard that they're not interested in Pratt. But yeah, again, the other guy made it sound as if Pratt's completely gone. And it could be the case. I don't know. But if that's all Bill Huber reported, you could take it to the bank. Bill Huber is one of the best in the business, no doubt about it. So, all right. So we got the chat caught up there. I want to keep up with it. Appreciate everybody. Man, we got a bunch of people. If you would just take a quick second, hit that like button for us. Feel free to sub to the channel. It helps more than you know. We really, really appreciate y'all hanging out with us here as we go through all the information. There's a ton to get to. Let's go rapid fire on some of the hot button topics and get your all's reaction real quick. Obviously, Packers release Anders Carlson, per source. Matt Schneidman tweeted this out way earlier today. Let's just kind of get everybody's reaction to Anders Carlson being cut here. Emilio, let's start with you this time, man. You know, we've talked about how Anders would make it to the practice squad. There's no doubt about it. You know, I mentioned earlier in camp, it would take about a 5-kick lead for me to pick Greg Joseph over Anders. Now, some people would say, hey, listen, it's more about being accurate within that, 40-yard range. And if I remember correctly, Greg Joseph's a little bit better than Anders in that range when you include extra points as well. So maybe that's what they're thinking. I'm also thinking along the lines of what Jacob said, that maybe they are waiting to see who gets cut here and who they may or may not be able to pick up to improve that room. But right now, I mean, the reality is Greg Joseph is on the roster, so they definitely picked Greg Joseph over Anders. What's your initial takeaway there on the Anders Carlson release?
Yeah, I think you said it right. Greg Joseph is the Band-Aid we have on there right now. If it's going to stay on for 3 years, we don't know yet. But I think that Anders has a real good chance of coming back. To the practice squad. If, Rich really does like him, like you said, get another year with him in the practice squad in the background, just training him and Hale, just, have a kicker competition all year with that. And then, by next year, if he's ready, make that move. I was just wondering, did he lose the spot because of that kick he missed against the Ravens? Like, what was that? Was that the straw, or did he have it locked up?
Yeah, that to me, I think they said he was 22 of his last 25 going into that game. So he had really started to turn it on. He had started to pull away from Greg Joseph. But when he missed that 35-yarder, I think the team was like, are we really going to do this again? Because that was the issue last year, was right there in that range. You get him a little more distance, and it seems like he's more comfortable because I think he's just not thinking about it. He's just kicking through the ball, maybe less pressure, knowing there's less percentage of you hitting the kick. I don't know. But that seemed to be what Mark Tauscher, I think it was earlier today, was talking about, that they kind of felt like maybe they're going with the kicker that was better within that closer range rather than kind of the opposite, because I'm as guilty as anyone. We tend to just look at the overall field goal percentage and not the specific distances, right? So maybe that's what they're thinking there. I don't know. But Jacob?
Yeah, Dennis says it here. He goes, missing that last 32-yard kick was Courtney's. It was Courtney's for Carlson.
So it was 32.
And I think that's a fair point to say, Clayton, is that they saw what they had in Joseph, maybe being like, hey, we can trust this guy to make it if it's under 40. With Carlson, we have that added craziness. He can maybe make one over 55, but if he's missing 20-30% of the kicks that are under 40, whereas maybe Joseph was a little bit more just steady Eddie in that aspect. Again, I don't want to see, I'm not taking any sort of victory lap, because like I was usually just kind of playing devil's advocate, because I thought, and I still do think, that we probably made a mistake letting Carlson go. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I hope I am wrong. I hope that the front office turns out to be way smarter than I am, which again, I won't be surprised by that. No matter. But it just does. It does rub me a little bit in a weird way that once again, we go into a season, and I think the biggest glaring red flag for this team is going to have to be special teams, which I did not want to have that conversation now almost 3 years in a row. So I think it's fair to bring up the conversation. And I'm not going to be a hater, nothing like that, but I wouldn't mind, I floated the idea of guys like Greg Zuerlein or some other kickers that were kicking pretty well. I don't know if the Packers, I'm sure now that the Packers,
Zuerlein missed a 35-yarder.
I was just going to say, too, Greg missed one that was just a couple inches. So I don't know. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is anymore, to be honest. I feel like the front office kind of has their minds made up in other ways, and I'm just a fan. You heard it.
The time to address it would have been the offseason.
Yeah.
You don't wait and address it after kick, right? So they made their bed. They got to lay in it. That's really where we're at. They went into the offseason going, Anders is our guy. We'll bring in some competition, and that's pretty much it. If kicking is that important to them, then you make a splash move and you go get somebody, and you actually trade some. You find one of these teams that are not Super Bowl contenders, and you offer them decent draft collateral to get a sure, proven kicker, albeit he gets into Lambeau. Tim, man, you get into Lambeau and that wind is swirling, he may not be as good there as he was in the Georgia Dome or wherever, other than Buffalo or Chicago. You know what I mean? Where the wind's just as bad, probably worse. But
do you guys?
Greg Joseph did a lot of kicking in a dome too. Yeah, his time in Minnesota. So
do I have to get another tattoo for Emilio or something? Did I agree to something over here that I'm not remembering? Because
let me go to the banner here real quick. We should have the bets on here. I tried to keep them up to date here. Hopefully it's on. Go ahead, Tim. Keep talking.
Wait. Oh, I'm reading it right here. Oh, wait. I see a scoring defense bet. Okay.
Yeah, Jacob, if the Packers have a top 7 scoring defense, I'll get an Emilio tattoo on my left butt cheek is what Jacob said.
Oh, my Lord. Why did I do that?
And then, of course, this next quote, they were human meat missiles. That was PTA Jacob. Just the tip was head coach Tupac LaFleur. All right. I actually make good music, PTA Jacob. I love how the most of this ticker is just Jacob.
Starting to notice a pattern.
It is.
Here we go. They're winning 14 games, boys. Book it, PTA Tim. 3rd and Wicks, PTA Clayton. I've got just the simplest one.
Grab drinks the Gatorade.
My favorite is the first one, though. And we kind of overlook it there. Costco has some good tequila, Coach Lynn. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt him.
To start off the off season right there.
Yeah. Gotta love it. Guys, right. I don't know. I don't know anything about the kicking game. I thought I did. I don't. I even went back in and, read a couple chapters, take your eye off the ball. And just when I convinced myself, I kind of know something about football, then this happened. So I don't know. Maybe Greg Joseph will kick for us for the next 10 years. I don't know. I have no clue.
He went back and watched Ace Ventura and Dan Marino holding it laces out.
I will say it's refreshing to know that we do not have an issue with our holder for sure. I'm assuming Daniel Wheeling's going to be doing the holding, and he's done a great job. He's been solid there. That's not an issue.
That is fair to say that the punting game has completely been transformed. Remember when we were pumped about JK-47?
Yeah. It's like when you say special teams is an issue, it's like I agree, but it's such a broad statement because are we talking coverage unit? Are we talking place kicking? Are we talking the punt game? What are we really talking about? Clearly place kicking is an issue. I mean, it's no secret. And we have an initial 53 that's public, and we still don't know for certain who's kicking in Brazil in week 1 for us right now. I'm sure that news will be forthcoming in the near future, but yeah, man, we've talked about the kicking game so much, and just when I thought we had a beat on it, we get the Anders Carlson shocker today. So we'll see what the future holds. I'll tell you this: if Greg Joseph is the dude, and that's who we're rolling with this year, then I'm 100% behind him. I agree. I think he's probably, dead on the money inside of 40 yards, probably not going to struggle with extra points. Mm-hmm. So we're probably not going to take a lot of 50, 55 yard, 60-yard long field goals. And hey, I'm okay with that. If your season or your game is coming down to a 55 plus yard field goal, you've got bigger issues than your kicking game. So I'm just hoping we boat race teams, and the kicking game is a non-issue this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan Wood tweeted this out, and we'll get your take on this one, Emilio. Can confirm Packers are releasing linebacker Christian Welch, as Bill Huber, NFL, reported. A bit of a surprise there. Finished fourth. God, that wet fart, man. It's so bad. Finished fourth on the team. Am I allowed to say that? Finished fourth on the team in special teams reps last season. A definite practice squad candidate. Emilio, that one catch you off guard, man?
Like I said, the only thing I thought was we need more talent at edge. We can't hold up so many at linebacker, and I probably would have rather had AJJ or Kalen King make it over Welch anyway. So I'm not mad about him going there. I do hope that we can maybe bring him back, but I'm not mad about their decision. They have to make it right. There was a time crunch. Deadlines are what moved this league forward, really. So they had to do it, right?
I think there's no doubt about it. They're expecting to get him back on the practice squad, right? Yeah. So that's, if he gets signed, he gets signed, but they definitely looked at it from a sense of, and we'll talk about the initial 53 and all the positions, how many players at the positions here in the second hour. But I think that's what they were looking at, was like, okay, how many teams are willing to sign Christian Welch? They obviously wasn't going to give up Tyron Hopper or any of those, draft pick linebackers. I think Wildy said it best earlier today. When you draft 2 linebackers in the second and third round, it's going to be hard for a practice squad candidate to make the roster, right? And we were just so in awe of him because, again, it sucks, man. That dude did everything he possibly could to make the team, and it still wasn't enough. So maybe we'll still see him, though. I hope so. Let's move on to A.J. Dillon here. This is kind of the hot button topic, obviously. Everyone was – I don't want to say everyone. I shouldn't be like that. Many people were like, man, he's done. It just ain't worked. We need to get rid of him. And the second he's gone, we're all like, damn, AJ's probably gone. So Matt Schneidman says A.J. Dillon was placed on IR and his 2024 season is over. And he said, while A.J. Dillon won't play for the Packers this season, it remains possible he'll reach an injury settlement with the team and play elsewhere if he's healthy enough. Awaiting word on the severity of the stinger that has kept him out the last week plus, also in the playoffs last year too. I added that last part. That was pointed out to me. I had no idea about. So with that being said, A.J. Dillon, obviously the injury kind of made the decision. And we talked about that early on in camp. Like many of these conversations we were going to have were going to be decided because of injury. Seems like with A.J. Dillon, this was one of them here. But what's your all's thoughts on A.J. Dillon as we get ready to turn the page? Because I think it's pretty much definitive he will not be back with Green Bay, right?
Right. Tough, man. Great guy. Great for the community. Fan favorite here. Obviously, we love the green tractor, but like we've always said, you can't make the club in the tub. Reoccurring stingers around your neck, head area, not something you really want to play with. You want to make sure that's squared away before you get moving on to the next one. So I feel for him, but I'm happy that he's given us those years and ready to move forward with Josh Jacobs.
All right, there you go. Another running back, Jacob. We'll get your and Tim's take on this one. Tom Silverstein said, still don't know the extent of Dillon's injury, but since Lloyd wasn't put on IR, it's possible he's getting close to returning. Should know more when they practice Wednesday. He had quote tweeted himself that said Packers are going with Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, and Marshawn Lloyd as their 3 running backs, obviously on the 53. A.J. Dillon will not play for the team this year. He is on IR for the season and may do an injury settlement. So just kind of reaffirming that. So when it comes to Marshawn Lloyd, I don't know about you guys, but this kind of felt like some positive news here today, Jacob. What do you think about Marshawn Lloyd potentially being ready week 1, man?
I like it. I'm tempering my Marshawn Lloyd excitement just because it does seem a little. I don't know. I'm not ever gonna, like I said, what's the word? Talk bad about a player in any way. I need him to stay healthy. He kind of is one of those guys where I haven't gotten to see much just because I haven't seen him on the field, kind of thing. I think Shavink, just as we're talking about the practice squad and the cut downs, obviously it's a great point to point out. Jake Shavink from our own Packernet Podcast Network here says last year, 26 of 1,184 players cut were claimed. If you take off IR and players not subject to waivers, it was around 26 out of 850. Green Bay won't lose multiple guys, and they probably won't lose any. He says save the bows. So I think that's a good perspective of looking at stuff that way. Is we are really biased. I think like we got our guys, we get our kind of fandom going towards certain people. We start, pulling for them. So I have to remind myself that I would like to see a lot of these players back. And that's why I hope a Christian Welch comes back. I hope a Rochelle comes back, and hopefully they will. We'll know more about that by tomorrow. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, we should. That's for sure. Anything you want to add on the Marshawn Lloyd talk there, Tim, before we move along, brother?
Yeah, I think what Jacob said is, pretty accurate. We haven't really seen a lot of them. I got to see him a little bit during camp, but again, that was really limited, with this hip or hamstring thing that he's dealing with, which is a little bit concerning, being a running back. But I think once we start to see him get some reps, we'll get a better barometer on what he's really bringing to the table. But I mean, the USC tape just jumps off the screen at you. Go watch Marshawn Lloyd college film, and he's explosive. So certainly someone you want to keep in the mix for sure. I'm excited to see Emmanuel Wilson really stepping up in the run game. And of course, Josh Jacobs is going to be a monster. We already know this. But I really do. I think this is a chance for Emmanuel Wilson to really step up and kind of make a name for himself here in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour 2.